So I know I'm a little late to the party, but I finally got the chance to sit down and watch one of my most anticipated movies of the year, that is A24's Talk to Me. I've got some thoughts, I'm ready to get into it, but before I do, welcome back to The Haunted Beard, everybody. It's all horror and thriller movie content here on my channel, so listen, do not click that subscribe button unless you want to be haunted by the beard. When a group of friends discover how to conjure spirits using an embalmed hand, they become hooked on the new thrill until one of them goes too far and unleashes terrifying supernatural forces. So I'm going to just go ahead and issue a spoiler warning on this as I want to get into all the details. So Talk to Me starts off, and I was hooked after the first 2 or 3 minutes. It starts off with this opening, like I said, 2 to 3 minute long tracking shot, one take of this guy going into a party, looking for his brother, and his brother eventually stabs him and then stabs himself right in the head. All done in one take, totally unexpected, out of nowhere, and so it starts off with a bang, and I was hooked. We're then introduced to our main protagonist, Mia, played by Sophie Wilde, and she does a fantastic job in this movie. Her performance is really great. We learn early on that she is dealing with the loss of her mother. And this goes right to one of the film's biggest strengths, not only the performances, but also the characters. The film does a really good job establishing the characters, giving them some depth, and also it does a good job with the relationships between the characters. Mia is still dealing with just the grief of the loss of her mother, and she's seeking friendship and connection and really family. And she has a little bit of that with her friend Jade, her younger brother Riley, and their mom, as this family really kind of becomes the family that Mia is seeking, the relationship and the connection that she needs in her life as she's looking for some sort of stability and just some sort of connection there. The relationship with her father has kind of frayed and just is not really on very good standings. And I just really like how they establish the friendship and the relationship between those characters. Her friendship with Jade is really well done, and I also really like her connection with the younger boy, Riley. And so Talk to Me just does a really solid job with the characters, as they are, I think, just well established and developed. They're people that we can sympathize with, that we root for, and so it just adds a lot of just strong kind of emotional and dramatic depth and weight to the movie. I also have to give a brief little shout out to Miranda Otto. I think her performance is really solid. She's definitely one of the more supporting roles. She doesn't have a whole lot of screen time, but what she does with the time that she is given really leaves an impression. You know all you need to know about her character in about 5 seconds, and so I think she just does a great job with her character and her performance as well. I think Talk to Me also, too, does a good job just kind of keeping a level of groundedness to the movie, as you realize what's going on here is that these characters, they're playing a game. It's just this silly game. And so it could have very easily gone into very kind of corny, silly sort of territory, as they're playing a game with an embalmed hand, and it leads them to this sort of possession-like trance. It's just something that you could see getting very silly and goofy. But the film just does a good job getting you to buy into it and believe it. And it just sells it really, really well. And it's believable and effective. I also really like, too, what the film does with giving you enough to where you can pretty much sort of figure out what exactly is going on while they're playing the game. They open up this realm to the undead, and there is this sort of, supernatural dead-like entities that they are communicating with. But at the same time, I think the film maintains a little bit of a level of ambiguity and mystery as well. And I like that it gives you enough to where you kind of understand what's going on, yet it doesn't over-explain itself. And so there's still a level of mystery there. I still feel like there's a whole lot of this realm that could be explored. I know with the sequel already having been greenlit, it'll be interesting to see what direction they take it, but there is a whole lot there that I feel like is still open for exploration, and so I like that they kind of kept things open and mysterious while also giving us enough to where we can kind of understand what's happening. My only issue with Talk to Me, and it's not even really much of a negative or much of a complaint, was that I thought that the first half of the film was a little bit predictable. I knew that since Mia was dealing with the loss of her mom and then now having opened up this realm of ghosts or undead or whatever you want to call it, I knew eventually that her mom was going to factor back into it some way, that more than likely she was going to communicate or have some sort of connection with her mom through this game that she was playing. And we really don't get to that point until about the halfway point of the movie. And so I was kind of waiting for it to get to that point. I felt like maybe the first half could have arrived at that point a little bit sooner, just because you pretty much know that's where it's headed. But once this movie hits the second half, man, I was just along for the ride. So about halfway through is when all hell breaks loose, as Mia makes the decision to allow Riley, the young boy, to play the game. And it does not go well, as he is almost killed. He stays connected to the hand for too long, and his face just becomes a bloody mess. And this sequence is executed just extremely well, man. It is so intense and just brutal. And again, it speaks to the connection that we as the audience have with the characters. The film, again, has just done a really good job connecting you to the characters, that you not only feel just the brutalness, the horror of it, but you feel the drama and the emotional weight too. So it kind of hits you on two levels. It's horrifying, but it's also, it hits your emotions as well, because again, you care for these characters. I think one of the things that the film does really well as well, and again, it really comes back to the characters, is that characters in this movie, they make dumb decisions. And for the most part, I feel like 9 times out of 10, and this is something that we see in horror movies all the time, characters doing stupid stuff. And 9 times out of 10, that will cause me to check out. But in this case, it didn't, because I cared so much for the characters. And even though they make decisions that are not smart, you understand why they're making these decisions, especially when it comes to Mia. Again, they have developed her and kind of fleshed out her character so well to where you really understand her and you sympathize with her. And so even though she's making not the best decisions, you understand why she does what she does, and you understand why she makes the decisions that she does. And so I think, again, that just speaks to the writing, and just the character development in the movie is just really strong. I also think that there is some depth to Talk to Me as well. And just simply through the character of Mia and what she has gone through with her mother. It just simply something along the lines of how grief and loss can get you to do crazy things. And what would you do for just the possibility, the chance to speak to a dead loved one again? And so I think it does a good job kind of going into a little bit of those themes and ideas, giving the film a little bit more depth than just sort of a surface level type thing. So as I said a few minutes ago, the second half of this movie is a pretty wild ride, as once Mia makes contact with her mother, you're kind of just off to the races. And this thing goes in some pretty surprising and unpredictable directions. And I was just hooked in fully throughout the second half of this movie. Now, throughout the film, there is this pervading question regarding Mia's mother, and that is, did she accidentally overdose, or was it on purpose? And this leads us to this extremely intense moment where Mia comes home and her father sits her down and tells her that he hasn't been honest with her regarding the death of her mother. And he reads her this note that the mom left her before she died, letting her know that she did overdose on purpose and took her own life, and Mia can't believe it. And then we get this scene where the mom in the supernatural realm is communicating with her and telling her that it's a lie, that it really was an accident. And I like that the film introduces this tension here, as we're not really sure who to trust and who to believe. And then we get the scene where she inadvertently stabs her dad in the neck with a pair of scissors. And this scene just took the air right out of me. I audibly gasped when I was watching this, as I felt so much for her character, and I was like so rooting and hoping for this sort of redemptive story. But then I remembered I was watching a horror film, and man, it was just such this unexpected, crazy moment. Man, it hit hard. Just a great scene in the movie that just takes this thing down a dark path. And then we get really the climactic sequence of the movie about the last 10 minutes. And Mia ends up trying to save Riley, and she takes him out of the hospital. And then there's this kind of car accident. She's laying in the street. And we get this, I think, some sort of dream sequence where she sees Riley, Jade, and the mom walking out of the hospital. Riley looks to be fully healed, and then her dad walking down the hallway and entering into an elevator. And then it cuts to a group of guys playing the game, only they reach their hand out, and there's Mia. And Mia's the one that they're playing the game with, only this time she's on the other side. And then it cuts to black. Man, what a fantastic way to end this film. I think in terms of how I kind of interpret things, it seems to me that Mia was able to save Riley. I'm not really entirely sure how she did. That's kind of the only thing I'm a little unclear on. I'm kind of thinking she's able to enter into this realm and perhaps maybe substituted herself or sacrificed herself in order to save him. And then the little kind of dream sequence we get at the end, it would seem to me is a bit of a happy ending, as Riley seems to be healthy and they go back home. He goes with Jade and the mom back home. And then potentially even her dad is saved, as we see him kind of walking out of the hospital as well into the elevator. But I think it kind of leaves things a little ambiguous in terms of what are exactly the fates of the other characters in the movie. And then what just a brutal but pretty brilliant way to end the film, with her now playing the game, but from the other side. And man, it's a great, horrifically dark ending. And it kind of breaks my heart a little bit, because I was like rooting so much for her character. Like I wanted her to get the redemption and to be okay. But again, it's a horror movie and such is not the case. But yeah, I was pretty impressed with Talk to Me. The fact that this is a feature film directorial debut for the Philippou brothers is pretty impressive. This is a pretty solid first effort. I can't wait to see what they're able to pull off with the sequel. I think that there is plenty of room in this world and in this realm to explore to make something pretty interesting. So looking forward to it. For me, I'm gonna go an 8 out of 10, a solid 8 out of 10 for Talk to Me. I think it is one of the best horror films of the year so far that I have seen. So I dug it quite a bit, and yeah, had a really good time with it. Hit me up down below, though, in the comments. I would like to hear your guys' interpretation. What do you think? How do you interpret or understand the last kind of 10 minutes of the movie? What do you think exactly happened there? And yeah, would love to hear from you. So that's all I got for you. Thank you so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it, and I will see you next time on The Haunted Beard.